Welcome everybody to another edition of Two Guys and a Mic. I am one of your hosts, RP.
And I'm your other host, Big Sean. How you doing, RP?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain too much.
Well,
I was actually trying to get back a little bit further from the camera because my bags are coming out. I don't know if I'm tired now or if I just need to get some more sleep or what. But
you're just old. That's all it is.
And it could.
That's all it is. Just old.
It could be that too. It could be most of that. I'll tell you that right now. It could be mostly the old part. So how you been, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm fine, man. I can't complain. I can, but nobody want to hear me complain. Nobody cares. So other than that, I'm good. What about yourself?
Like I say, other than being a little bit tired, I've been good. I can't complain too much. Working, doing my 1-2, of course, still watching and paying attention to the sports scene. Got a few things we're gonna talk about, on the sports scene tonight. But aside from that, I had a pretty good Mother's Day. It was a little busy weekend trying to make sure everything was cool for the mothers in my life. My wife and my mom, my mother-in-law. So I cooked dinner. I smoked a brisket.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was my weekend pretty much, getting that together, and then I did some ribs and
Did you smoke your ribs too?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my next thing, man. I'm working on getting a smoker now. I have my eye on this. It was a Weber Smoky Mountain.
Oh, nice. Is it one of the gravity ones?
No, it's a tower. It's a regular smoker, charcoal smoker. So I'm looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm looking at that, man, because that's what I want to learn how to do. Especially I can just put stuff on and then not worry about it and check on it like every hour.
Yeah, you just got to make sure the fire stay up. I mean, I got a regular grill smoker, so you just got to keep feeding the fire. It's like being on a damn train back in the day. You got you literally got to be shoveling coals and wood into this thing to keep the fire up. But yeah, that was my Mother's Day. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but I hope your mom and your grandma had a good.
Yeah, everybody had a good day, man. It was kind of a quiet day, or just the way my mama wants it anyway. She was like, the best thing you can do for me for Mother's Day is leave me the hell alone. So. So
has she always been that way?
She's always been that way. She don't want to go out to dinner, nothing, because she don't want to deal with the crowds and all of that. Now, I'll cook like some other days I've grilled. I had to work this year, so I couldn't do that. But she wants to be quiet, had a quiet day. Nobody bothers her. Matter of fact, she used to just go play bingo a lot of times. Like back when the Catholic churches had the bingo halls really running, that was her thing. She was like, give me some money, give me $40, $50, and you won't see me the rest of the night. Yeah, she'd leave about like 4 or 5, and she'd be there all night.
And she go hammer.
Right.
Hey, listen, it's Mother's Day, so I guess at the end of it, it's whatever they want. It's however they want it. It don't really make look. It ain't up to me. So my day is my birthday and Father's Day. Those are my 2 days where I get to call whatever shot is gonna happen. So, but I do return the favor. Mother's Day. I don't know how many times I told my wife, because she thinks she run every damn thing. I don't know how many times I told her to go sit her ass down. Man, go sit down. I got it.
Right.
And it's Mother's Day. So why is you trying to organize stuff? Just go watch TV, put your robe on and your pajamas and chill, But it's all good. So let's go on ahead and get into some of the stuff. We haven't had a show post-draft. We did have our pre-draft show, one of which, to be completely and totally honest, that's why you guys need to follow the show, need to subscribe to the show. Sean and I actually both gave guys names in the draft that the Browns actually ended up picking. So I almost feel like the Browns are listening to us. They have a mold.
Barry's definitely listening. Why not?
Yeah,
Why not get all these great jewels of wisdom?
They they paying attention somewhere, because actually the first 2 draft picks that we got were guys that Sean and I both mentioned or said these are guys that are being mentioned to be drafted by us and would not be bad on the team. So
they were good fits.
Yeah. So I'm gonna run down every one of the draft picks that we ended up with, just as a recap. First, we had in round 1, we had Greg Newsome, the cornerback out of Northwestern. Round 2, we traded up from, I believe we were at 59, and we traded up to 52 with Chicago and ended up with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who I wanted. That was the guy I thought would have been the pick earlier in the first round. Sean actually picked Greg Newsome, by the way, or said that Greg Newsome was a guy he had his eye on. Anthony Schwartz was in the 3rd round. 4th round was James Hudson, offensive tackle. Also in the 4th round was Tommy Tagaya from Ohio State, defensive tackle. Round 5 was Tony Fields, the 2nd linebacker out of West Virginia. Then they picked Richard LeCounte from Georgia, safety from Georgia. And round 6, they picked up Demetric Felton, a running back out of UCLA. So what was your thought about how the Browns approached the draft, bro?
My initial thoughts were, when they picked Greg Newsome, I was like, okay, I thought that was a good pick. I know some people weren't overly thrilled. They weren't upset about it, but a lot of people wanted to go linebacker, especially since JOK from Notre Dame was out there. But when I thought about it, I said, that's solid, because when you think about it, the Browns right now, they don't have any reliable depth at cornerback. So you got Denzel, then we picked up Troy Hill from the Rams, which is a good pick. But after that, we don't have anybody. You can't trust. You don't know what you're gonna get out of Greedy Williams. And we had a couple of we brought back the other guy. What's his name? The one that kept getting torched by Juju in the playoffs.
Not Newsome.
Robert, was it Robert Jackson? Is that his name?
Robert Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah. So they re-signed him. I think he's more of a special teams guy, and a depth guy. But we really didn't have anybody.
Right.
When you think about it, so I said, okay. I remember them, seeing him play in college. Very solid guy, and I thought it was a solid pick there. And the Browns weren't overthinking it. They didn't have to move up. They didn't have to trade it. When the guy fell to him, who I think they were targeting him all along. He fell to him. They went ahead and grabbed him, man. So I thought it was a solid pick. You go to Northwestern, you're a smart guy. He seemed to be very excited to be here. Now, of course, when guys get drafted, everybody's excited no matter where they go. But when you saw, the scene with him and his family, he seemed like he was really genuinely happy to be in Cleveland. So I think that's a positive too.
Right.
So overall, I just think, their approach was, don't overthink it. Don't give up too much, and get the guys that you need, to make this football team better.
And that's pretty much my take on it as well. I think that, again, I say this probably every show, or at least almost any time that we bring up the thought process of the front office. The level of stability that you feel when they get off of, say, an interview, when you see them make free agent signings, when you see them do the draft, it's just like it all makes sense. It's like they're sitting at a table doing a 500-piece crossword. I mean, not a crossword puzzle, but a jigsaw puzzle. They're just sitting there and they're just plugging holes. This piece doesn't fit. So why are we trying to force this piece? That's okay. We'll find the right piece. Like, that seems to be like their mantra. Like, they're not overthinking anything. They're not overextending themselves. They're not overpaying guys. they're not trying to force a culture. It's just like, no, this is the way it's going to be, period. And I dig it. I dig it. And to hear the coach, he was talking after, I think he was talking after the first day of the draft. So the first day he was like, yeah, Greg Newsome, he just fit the type of person that he is, fits what we want in our locker room and on the football field, the type of football player we're looking for. So kind of going towards what you were saying earlier, Greg Newsome is a smart guy. He was at Northwestern. I think the Browns are going for smart, athletic football players.
Like, and we need that, man. Just think about how many dumb, asinine things a player needs to do, throughout the years. I mean, just stuff that made absolutely no sense because guys just weren't thinking on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And if you look at the guys now that, that are making the core of this football team, we're not doing those stupid things. Are they perfect? No. Do they make mistakes? Yes. But you're not getting like the boneheaded penalties, at least not consistently. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
and the mental mistakes.
And it's crazy how quickly that turned, though, Sean.
Yeah.
Because we're really only a year and a half, roughly, removed from some boneheaded penalties and stuff. Remember,
it starts from the top, man. Like the team, I think, really does reflect this head coach or just the culture of the team. Period.
Yeah. So, these guys are going into smart, athletic football players, guys that just love to play football. Jeremiah JOK, he is a football player. Like, he's just an instinctive football player. He's fast.
Now I saw you had made a comment when we on Facebook when we drafted Greg Newsome, and you wasn't thrilled with it. So you wanted JOK first, like in the first round.
You targeted. I did, absolutely. And I kind of explained it to you, but I'll say it again for the folks that'll listen. I felt like the type of linebacker that he is, we need that kind of a linebacker on our team. We need a fast, ball hawking, tackling, smart, instinctive guy. He wraps up when he tackles. I mean, this dude runs into guys like he's a goddamn missile, but he picks plays out. He knows where he needs to be in holes and in spots, and he just gets there. And even if he doesn't get there, it makes a blocker have to stop and do something else, which kind of jams up a play. I watched him play a couple times, and of course I watched highlights, and I liked him when I watched him play in real time. And I damn sure like the highlight package that they put together of him.
Yeah.
So it was nothing against Greg Newsome. The thing I can relate it to is when I wanted Denzel Ward. I just didn't want him where we drafted him. I thought we should have gotten somebody else. So it's not Greg Newsome. I don't think Greg Newsome is a bad pick.
I got you.
I just thought JOK. And then they actually said that Paul DePodesta actually was like, we might need to get JOK at that spot at 26. So not that there was an argument, but he at least had a like, y'all sure? Y'all sure? Okay, all right, y'all sure? Type of moment, and I'm glad that they were able to. How freaking crazy is it that the Browns ended up with both of those guys?
Yeah, that he kept dropping. And when I saw that, I said, okay, we still might have a shot. And then once the Browns, when I saw we had traded up, I know exactly. I think I texted you as soon as they did it. I said, that's JOK.
Yeah.
So the time had come. They was like, okay, we can't wait any longer. He actually fell to it. I think they're probably shocked that he fell that far.
I'm sure they were. I think they gave up. I think they had given up, like in terms of picking him up anyway. I think they had given up on having the opportunity to get him. So, like you said, as they got closer and closer, they're like, yeah, there's no way. Dude ain't falling through the 50s. He's not falling through the 50s. And, so they were like, no, we got to get him now. Let's just move up if we can, see what we can do. And I'm glad they did. I hope it all works out because, again, these guys ain't played a game yet. On paper, Greedy Williams looked like he was great. on paper, so did Grant Delpit, but these guys never even saw the field this past season. So hopefully everything pans out the way that we see it. I think that this was a very smart draft. It looked as though they were going for depth. It looked like they were going for upgrades, even in certain cases too, and upgrades in depth. I mean, because like you say, if you re-sign a guy who really wasn't a second starter, as a cornerback, well, you just drafted a kid that can play behind a guy who was a starter all year long for the last 2 years in the league. And you know what I mean? So
right.
You just added depth to the squad. I think you added a lot of talent to the squad. And again, that's something different too, because, when you have a good player and nobody else on the other side rivals you, it doesn't bring out the good in you. It can't, because you're already better than these guys. However, when you put talent on the other side of that ball, you got talent over there against OBJ and against Jarvis and against the offensive line. So it's going to bring out, the best in them. You know what I mean? In practices and stuff like that. So now we're ready for games, and guys are playing at a high level.
And it puts certain guys on notice too. Matt Wilson I could tell he's a very emotional guy. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. I follow him on Instagram, and I guess after the draft, he puts up an emoji, with the zip mouth. Because he knows drafting JLK, that's you. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's you, bro. It needs to put guys on notice.
Yeah.
It should put guys on notice. I mean, and the crazy part about JLK, he could play. They were talking about the potential of him playing in a safety spot at times. Same thing with, then they ended up drafting a kid out of Georgia as a safety as well. So it's like, man, we basically picked up 3 safeties, and we got Grant Delpit coming up too.
Yeah.
Like that's
somebody had kind of compared JLK like to a Troy Polamalu type, when you just got that runs all over the field, just making plays. Now I hope, man, if he's even 70% of what Polamalu was, we got a great player.
Absolutely.
So, I like the sports pick. I didn't know who the kid was when we drafted him at first. But I had a few guys text me, man. One of my college buddies from Florida said he's real big into high school football and college football in the Florida area, in the South Florida area. And he said, you watched that kid throughout high school. I think Steve Miller said the same thing that he posted on Facebook. So that kid just is a blazer.
Swartz, you mean, the wide receiver?
Yeah, like 4'2", 40, something like that. Something that we need, man. When we first drafted a receiver, I'm like, man, we really don't need a receiver, not that high. But then, when you thought about it, you don't have any speed. Not take the top off the defense. Besides OBJ, but you don't know how he's going to come back.
And then you don't want to ask him to try to, take the top off if he's not 100%.
Exactly. I guess this kid is a kick returner too. So I was thinking about who's the odd man out in the receiving core. I guess that would be JoJo Natson. Probably would be the odd man out.
And Kadero probably won't play a lot either. But
it all depends on. It
does add depth though, regardless.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how fast they want to bring the kid up, because we don't know. As far as this might be a move you're looking for, like maybe a year or 2 in the future on one of our receivers leaves. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure that's a part of it, because that's how they're approaching the draft. They approach the draft in terms of like developing guys and adding depth, and then they use free agency for like starter guys that we need like right now. The plug-in guys are guys with experience, guys with who already been in the league. So they're bringing up these young kids to learn basically underneath the experience of these veterans. So I don't doubt that at all, that this guy, that Swartz might end up being like the number 2 guy or the slot guy within the next, because we only signed Rashard to a 1-year deal, so he may not be here next year.
I don't think he will.
I mean, I'm not saying he won't. I'm saying he may not be here after the this the contract is up. We don't know, because he might want more money. He might want to go somewhere and make some dough. So it's just a matter of how it all plays out. But I think it's a good addition because, again, you still add depth. We got depth and we have options. Like I think he's going to be a punt returner or a kick returner, one of the two, if not.
But that's one thing that we really don't have. Natson got hurt early in the season, and then we were running. Yeah, we were running Dearness Johnson. Who else did we run out there?
I didn't like.
I think like Red Wine sometimes to do punt returns.
Kadero Hodge was back there once or twice.
It was kind of like by committee. We were just running a guy, but we need a guy that has the potential to score. And I don't think Dearness Johnson wasn't scaring nobody back there. He did okay. He wasn't horrible.
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
But at no point in time did I think that he's gonna take it to the house. Like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, we need a guy that might give off a piece of a threat of that. And I maybe this guy will be that. I didn't see a lot of shiftiness, but most of his catches he was
right. Yeah, they're all
behind. Right. He had burned everybody.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why he may not be ready to be a big part of the receiving core. But as far as the special team, that's probably
needs to develop some.
Yeah, develop his route running a little bit,
which is cool. I mean, he's a rookie, and apparently he's got time to do that. And I mean, time based on the fact that he has 2 or 3 guys. He's probably at this point like 4th at the highest on the depth chart, and that's at the highest. I don't think he's gonna do that high right now.
Probably more like 5th or 6th, really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I said at the highest he's gonna be 4th. Yeah. That's at the highest. Thinking the highest of him. They picked him in the 3rd round, so they must think something of him. But that's the highest I can see him. He's not. We already know he ain't starting over Juice or OBJ. He's not gonna start over Rashard. So at the highest, I have him at 4th. But I doubt that he's 4th because I'd rather see Kadero Hodge come in at that, at that 4th spot, or potentially Njoku or somebody. So,
right.
But beyond that, like you say, it was just at that point after that guy, actually even including that guy, it was just depth. Like one player after the next player after the next player. Everybody was depth. It was a depth guy after a depth guy after a depth guy.
Remember how we used to like try to figure out like what the 5th, 6th, or 7th round guys were going to do, on the team, and really, and when you think about it, it's ridiculous because most of those guys don't make the team or really don't. Hey,
I thought he left. He gonna come back.
And it was ridiculous. Like we were actually looking at these late round draft picks to come in and make some type of an impact. And now that we come to our senses, that we got a decent football team, we realize that these guys are depth guys. If they don't make the team, it's like, okay,
Yeah, and listen, that's a good damn feeling after 200 years of bull crap and bad management. Like you say, we see these guys and we got all this hope for that 5th round draft pick who kind of they thought was going to go in the 3rd round, and we got this guy. Yay, let's see if he makes it. You know what I mean? Because we don't have anything else now. Honestly, and the crazier part is I actually do see value in most of the guys that they picked.
Right. And I'm looking back at the draft from last year. All those guys made the team, man. Like Donovan Peoples-Jones was our last pick in the draft in the 6th round. I
forgot about DPJ. So yeah, dude probably 5th or 6th for sure. I forgot about him. I hadn't even.
Nick Harris was the 5th round pick. He made the team. He had to start a couple of games. Then Harrison Bryant was like a 4th round pick.
Harrison Bryant, yep.
Yeah, so those guys can add value. You just normally don't expect them to. You're drafting guys that late. But
that's listen, I'll take it all. I think all these guys, the kid from West Virginia, The linebacker, Tony Fields, he was another guy who they said could play safety. And they compared him to JOK in terms of how he played.
Okay.
I said, man, that's crazy. So if you F around, and we talk about this all the time, why is it that, the Ravens or the Steelers always end up with 3 or 4, really, really solid football players at one time? We could be on the way to doing it.
And here's something else to think about too, because everybody kept saying, analytics. Analytics is not value linebackers. They treat them as a dime a dozen. Andrew Berry's not going to draft a linebacker, early in the draft or anything like that. And he turned around and he does it.
Yeah.
So I think that goes to show you that it's not all they, analytics. They're probably using, just a solid football mind and making solid football moves too, and not just relying on numbers or
I agree. And I've been one, who's been probably overly guilty with suggesting that he's quote unquote just an analytics guy. But he's proven to be just a smart individual in a room that's not trying to be the smartest guy in the room. That's not trying to be this dude is like, he's got a plan. He knows what he wants. He knows what the team might need. And that's how he approaches the game. And in the draft and putting the roster together. So you almost, I don't want to say it, but it's almost like, man, I think, I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm just going to say this. I think the kid knows what he's doing. Whenever he goes after a guy or if ever he decides this ain't the guy for us, I'm almost inclined to just be like, all right.
And everything is so quiet in Berea. You don't hear, we had no idea. We heard rumblings, but we didn't know who the Browns were going to pick. Normally, we know. Back in the day, you already knew, man, like back in January, you pretty much knew who the Browns were going to pick or who they had targeted. At least, 3 or 4 guys they had targeted.
Or they would have told you who came into town for a visit.
Right.
Like
exactly. How the workout went and all that. Now everything is you don't hear a peep out of Berea now. No turmoil, no.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's super crazy. Like, how the season gets to a certain point and then you start to hear, oh, well, this is why dude wasn't playing. Oh, or this is, oh, wait, I thought they said he was sick. No, they left him. They sent him home, or you know what I mean? Like, you always hear some BS. Like later on in the season when you thought everything was good, and then you find out it was all crap. And like you say, you find out it was cliques, and you find out it was factions. Yes, that's your word, factions. Right. Like they're in Colombia or something.
Right.
All these factions in the Browns locker room. But it's, and then you hear about stuff that happened during the season, and you get guys coming out saying how great of a locker room it was, or you get guys telling stories about OBJ when you hear all these people and fans outside of the locker room saying, oh, he's a cancer, he's this, he's that. And you hear people in the locker room like, yeah, OBJ, gave my mama a ride to work. You know what I mean? Like little stuff to just refute the BS that people are throwing around. And that's just un-Brown. That's really un-Brown like over the last 40 plus years of my life.
Right.
So it's really refreshing. And as old as I'm getting, we'll be 50 in like 3 weeks, it seems like. As old as I'm getting, I don't have the energy and the stress levels to continue to deal with these guys on the levels that I've dealt with them over the past.
You already know I don't. I've been almost in a Zen-like state with the Browns the past couple of years.
And that's
like they ain't getting me.
Listen, and you almost have to take that on. You remember when I boycotted? I was like, I ain't watching the game. I ain't watching no game all that time. I'm not doing it. So I wouldn't watch no games, or the game would come on. It was weird because like my wife would be like, I just realized you went to the grocery store and it's like 2:00. Yeah, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching it. I can't do it to myself.
It was too much.
Yeah, they was trying to
Way
kill
too
me.
much.
Take me
I
off.
told you, man, go back. But when you get time, man, just go back on YouTube and just don't. You ain't even got to go back 10 years, man. Just go back like 4 and look at the roster. You know what I'm saying? None of these guys like stick around. You know what I'm saying? Just look who's on the team, and you forget. You was like, damn, he did play for us. You know, they had it was on somebody on IG had put up a picture of a player that's like, yeah, you can guess this player, blah, 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 blah. They was Scott Player. Like, I forgot that old man punted for the Browns.
He was on the Browns?
Yeah, see, exactly.
I don't even remember.
You remember Scott? The Scott Player had the old helmet from like 1925 with the one
Kentucky helmet. Yeah.
I forgot that he was here.
Yeah.
You know,
that's weird.
Yeah, so when you go back and look at the guys on that roster, man, he's like, damn, I forgot about him. That guy. You know? So,
overall,
what do you give? Go ahead.
Yeah, what grade? Go ahead. What grade do you give?
What do you give as a draft grade?
I actually give them a A. I'm gonna give them an A. Simply because they ended up with 2 guys that actually, to be honest, they got 2 guys that can start like tomorrow. You know what I mean? And they weren't supposed to get these 2 guys. They weren't supposed to have it, both of them. They were supposed to end up with 1, and they ended up with both. Figured out a way to get both, and then just bolstered the rest of the roster out. Like, again, I do believe a lot of it is putting guys on notice. I think a lot of it is just filling out the rest of the roster. We do know a lot of these guys aren't going to make the team, but hell, it may not end up being some of the guys we just drafted. You know, they might actually make the squad, and I think it's just going to make the team better. So, I think they did that. So, I'm giving them an A.
Okay. Now, I hate giving out draft grades, but for the sake of our show, I give the Browns an A just for the fact on how they drafted, not for who they drafted, just the approach and how they did it. Whether these guys pan out or not, the approach was smart. Because you never know what can happen at the end of the day. You know, because all of us are a crapshoot. So, but based on their approach to the draft, I'm gonna give the Browns an A. Actually looking forward to it's weird because now you don't know how the off season is going. Like some teams are having rookie mini camps and stuff like that and OTAs, and some aren't. I guess with JC Treader being the president of the players union, I would assume that the Browns won't be having too many, off season activities. But I'm looking for. But normally that's when it gets my blood flowing for football. When you start having a little, you don't get much out of it. It's like, okay, you get to see them running around to the orange helmets out there. And I don't think we're going to get that. Now, some of it I think is ridiculous because it's like, okay, players are like, well, for safety reasons, we don't want to have, some of the off-season programs, but they're all like meeting up like in California and doing the same. You know what I'm saying? I was like, what's the difference? It's almost like I don't want you to tell me how to work out, but I'm gonna go work out on my own. Now, I'm not in the NFL. I'm not a football player. I don't know. I don't want to speak out of school, but to me, that seems like that makes a whole lot of sense.
That's almost exactly what they're doing, though. The Browns just had a session like that. I put it up on Instagram where, Juice, Baker, Njoku, Rashard Higgins, all these guys were down in Florida running routes, throwing footballs, and while I'm happy that these guys are trying to find chemistry and trying to work through it, yeah, what the hell is wrong with having a OTA in a week, in a month or so, a voluntary OTA where nobody shows up, and they're mad about it because you interrupted my vacation. Well, how the hell are you going on vacation and practice?
Right. Exactly. And my thing is, like, to me, that stuff, get to meet your new teammates, start getting that chemistry and that camaraderie going.
Yeah, getting to figure out the rooks and whatnot.
And maybe that stuff is overblown, but we'll see how that plays out. The Indians just won. Emmanuel Clase comes in with the save. I think Bieber gets the win again. Somehow, Terry Francona gets on. I know I'm really going off topic here. Bro. Terry Francona gets on my damn nerves. Bro. And somehow he gets these bums to compete every year, and I don't understand it.
Listen, we're gonna get all in that because that's exactly that's been my point. So we did the draft, the Browns draft, grades. Apparently we're rather pleased with the Browns. And it'll be interesting to see everybody show up, kid. I can't wait until you start to see where these guys are panning out, wide receiver wise, running back wise. We know the running back situation, but I'm just naming parts of the team. Linebacker wise, safety wise, when Delpit gets back, like what are these guys going to look like on the field together? Will they mesh real well? Will it be a gap? But again, that's another reason why some of the OTAs and the training camps are so important. So hopefully they figure all that stuff out and can get themselves together so that we can. I'm almost ready for football to start like next week, dog.
Right.
I don't want the weather, but I am ready for football to start.
Well, we already got the football weather now, anyway.
We damn sure got the football weather, don't we?
It feels like October out here.
You know what I just said? I said it felt yesterday. What was it, yesterday, the day before? I said, man, it was Mother's Day. I said, man, it feels like it's the second week of May, but it feels like it's the second week of November.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just chilly for no reason. I had to put on my long johns, bro. Hey, listen, that was some bull crap. I'm like, I'm in May. I had to stand outside because I was smoking, going back and forth, smoking the meat or whatever. So I was like, man, I can't be just standing out here. It's too cold for that.
Yeah, like this been like spring and fall, like my favorite times of the year. And we don't get a real spring anymore. I miss those rainy days, but that warm rain, like that's good sleeping weather, the thunderstorms and all of that. We don't get that.
We don't get any of that, bro. We don't get any of that anymore. Not anymore. But all right. So I think we've given the Browns a good feel. Sean and I could go on forever about the Browns, and all kind of layers, and we can also go on and on about the same exact thing for hours. I think some of y'all have seen that. But let's switch gears a little bit and move towards the NBA a little bit. I want to touch on a couple things in the NBA. One of them would be my Cleveland Cavaliers. It's a lot going on. I had a lot of promising feelings about this team early in the season. And I even saw some things early in the season that made me feel like, okay, I thought I was right, or I feel like I was right about this, that, and the other. But at some point from the All-Star game, or slightly before the All-Star game, to where we are right now, a couple of weeks before the playoffs, or a week or so before the playoffs, this team is awful. And it's awful for a lot of different reasons. It's not just awful because the roster is not great. It's not just awful because the coaching staff isn't doing whatever they're supposed to do. It's not just awful because the front office. I think it's a combination of all of that shit. Like, it's players. Dude, this is like the Browns. This is like the old Browns, where you start to hear stuff and it just trips you the hell out. Like, why? What the hell is happening over there? Do you have any idea? I mean, I got my examples of things that I'm talking about in this moment.
Everything is like falling off the rails. Like the only thing that I've really been hearing, like I guess nobody likes Colin Sexton on the team.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing that I've heard, because he's a ball hog. Well, they say he's a ball hog, which he can be, but I don't see him. There are times during the game where he does hold on to the ball a little bit long, tries to force it, but nothing that I don't see going on from main scorers on any other team. You know, it's not like egregious, like he's just purposely freezing people out or anything like that. The thing with Anderson Varejao was completely ridiculous. Yeah, the most ridiculous thing. That might have been the most ridiculous thing that the Cavs have ever done outside of the Ron Harper for Danny Ferry trade. Bringing Andy back as a PR stunt at the end of the season was ridiculous. And I think that sends a horrible message to the team. Because when I haven't really had a chance to watch too many of the games lately. But one thing, when I do turn to them, they're already down by like 35.
Yeah.
But I did see a clip when, you know, Varejao actually got into the game. And, you know, I guess they did a little tribute and, you know, fans gave him a standing ovation. And some of the younger players were looking like, what is going on? Like, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? It's not like you brought back LeBron or, you know, somebody like that. And I know Andy was a fan favorite, but Andy ain't played, was it 4 or 5 years?
It's been like 3, 4 years.
You know, so I don't know. Like you said, early in the season, I saw some good things. I saw some very positive things. And I don't know, like, it's because the injuries just started mounting up. The injury situation with the Cavaliers is crazy. The fact that they've won 21 games says a lot, I think, about the coaching staff, you know, in a positive sense, you know, early on in the season, that they were able to, you know, just to remain competitive. I mean, because they have devastating injuries. Cavs got guys running out there that I've never heard of before. And every week it's a new guy out there that I've never heard of that they find from somewhere to fill out that roster. So what are the things, you know, have you been hearing about the team?
Hey, like you said, the Anderson Varejao thing is and this isn't nowhere near PC. It's completely retarded. I do believe that it was orchestrated by Dan Gilbert. So I think it was about putting butts in seats. I think it would give fans an opportunity to come out to the stadium a little bit more because everybody loves Andy. And you know how I feel about mediocre players.
Yeah, Cleveland again in our love for our mediocre players.
So, you know, Anderson Varejao is one of the more basic ball players in history of life. And the Cavs fans love him. He's like one of the biggest floppers. He's like one of the it's not that I didn't like Andy. I just knew what Andy was. I never over loved him or anything. I knew what Andy was. And a lot of people think I'm a jerk, but I was the same way with what's the little bastard that came from Australia that we had?
Delhi.
Same thing with Delhi. Listen, I know he's a little scrappy ball player, and we're from Cleveland, and people love tough stuff here, blah, 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 Midwest tough, blah, blah. If Matthew Dellavedova was playing in the YMCA the same way he was playing in the NBA, he would be beat up every week. So, you know what I mean? Because ain't nobody tolerating, like, dude, we playing a pickup game. Chill out. And you can see some of the guys in the league feel the exact same way about him and about Andy. And they're not the only two mediocre, ridiculously energetic, flopping, jumping, falling dude that's on teams. They're all across the NBA. However, these are our flopping, falling, mediocre guys. So for the Browns, for the Cavs to bring him back, like on some farewell. What you talking about farewell? He was already gone.
Right.
Like he hadn't been in the league. It'd be different if he was playing on a team, got bought out, and the Cavs said, "Hey, you're gonna retire? Well, why don't we bring you back, man, and you just retire as a Cap, or we bring you back for the last half of the season as a farewell thing." This dude ain't played no basketball in a while. So what does that mean to me? I agree with Sean. It says there's some level of dysfunction within the front office, and there's an absolute disconnect with the youth or the younger portions of the team. But that's been the case since they drafted all these young dudes. There's a complete and total disconnect from the front office to the youth guys, the Sextons, the Kevin Porters, even though he's not on the team. What's his name? Mace Window. Him. All of these guys are, it's just like this disconnect. And then the older guys that we've had on the team, the Kevin Loves, we did have Delly, but I don't know what role Delly was playing in terms of like trying to, what they call it, mentor guys.
They have to get Kevin Love off this team.
I ain't got into him.
Have to.
I ain't got into him yet, but I'm coming. Guys like Tristan, when Tristan was here last year, what did they give and what did they tell the young guy? Was there mentoring? It doesn't seem like it to me. It just seems like the front office and the veterans have a different idea and a different opinion than the youth of the team, which is not uncommon, but it doesn't seem to be a camaraderie or a teamwork to try to make it mess. And I think JB Bickerstaff has just been put in a bad spot. I don't think he's a bad coach. I think that he has a terrible roster. And then the team asks Andre Drummond to not play for like a month and a half.
Yeah, right. Then you end up buying him out anyway.
Like, what is? It's like a complete and total mess based on where we started when we gave our thoughts about where the Cavs could end up or how the season could play out.
It all started going south when they cut Kevin Porter Jr.
Well, that was something that probably needed to happen. But when that happened, I don't know that it aided the team. Like, what did we get?
They knew he was crazy. Look, they knew he was crazy when they drafted him. So he does something. So you gonna cut him when he does something crazy, or are you gonna try to nurture the kid?
I've heard that ain't nowhere near the first crazy thing that this dude has done.
I'm sure it was.
And I'll say this: if they decided after one crazy occurrence, how egregious was that one crazy occurrence?
I mean, he's down in Houston doing crazy stuff.
He's still doing crazy stuff. Like I kept trying to tell people like, oh, he scored 50. I think the Cavs gave up on it too early. I said, when did he score 50 before this? When have you mentioned this dude before this? Stop it. Stop with the we gave up on him too early. It's late in the season. He had a 50-point game. Listen, it's impressive to score 50 points in the NBA. I don't care who you are. I'm not going to say we gave up too early on him until he does it multiple times or shows me more. I feel like if the Cavs got rid of this dude, and I know that there's some dysfunction within that front office, if the Cavs decided we don't want this dude back, we just don't want him back at all. Don't even bring your stuff in here. Right. JB Bickerstaff ain't said nothing opposite of that. So whatever this dude did, he deserved to be the hell off that team. And I don't care what nobody say. I don't care. Listen, and it ain't a lot of people in circles in the NBA that spoke like, oh, I think the Cavs are doing the wrong thing. There's not many people who've said that. Only people saying that's true.
That's true.
So I think that we just don't know exactly, and the Cavs ain't letting it out. Oh, I haven't heard anything, and I kind of got my ear to the ground because I know some folks in places. So I may try to dig a little bit more. It was too early to ask before, and nobody was going to tell me. Nobody was going to mention it. So I got to wait, but I might get some juice on that. But there's that situation with Kevin Porter. There was the stupid situation with Andy. And then there's Kevin Love. I've almost never seen the level of I don't give a shit that I saw from him the other day. What was that, about 2 weeks ago? Where this dude just, listen, this is the, people will say, and I got into it with people online about this. People were saying, oh, well, I mean, he's just sick of this team. They stink and blah, 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 such and such. He knew this team stunk when he signed a $31 million contract. He knew that. He didn't wake up today like, oh, I thought this team was going to be this.
Right.
Oh, no, you knew this team was going to stink. You knew it. You knew it last year that this team was going to stink. So take that excuse out of here. The second thing is, you're a professional. These dudes pay you $31 million a year. You've been in the league for 11 years? Something like that? 10 years?
Probably a little bit more than that.
Some ridiculous number of years for you to be acting like a big ass baby. Thirdly, and this is actually should have been first because I think this is more important. The Cavs were not out of that game. They were only down 6 or 4 rather.
It was 4, something like that.
Down 7 after the damn 3-pointer.
Right.
They were only down 4 late in the fourth quarter. And if he was mad, he should have been mad at himself because he's the one who didn't rotate on that damn layup. He didn't rotate on defense on that layup. He got beat. And out of your frustration, you just bat the ball back in bounds. Don't like say, oh shit, I messed up. Nope, I'm just gonna keep walking along the baseline and let these dudes shoot a 3-pointer. And now we don't have a chance of winning this game. That is freaking egregious.
Yeah, they gotta find. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but he cannot be back here next year. He's gonna be even grumpier and more of a malcontent.
They should have fined him or suspended him. The team should have for that crap. I don't care about your apology.
Now the only reprieve we might have,
but man,
because he's been putting up like semi-decent numbers when he's been playing. Maybe we can get somebody to take him in the trade at some point, because he's still got 2 years left on that deal,
man. Yeah. Nobody is, listen, his numbers ain't been good enough for $31 million.
No.
You got to find a team that's willing to pay. If I'm the Cavs, I would love for somebody to take all of it. You ain't gonna find nobody who's gonna take all of it. Maybe you can work out.
It got to be some way where we can take on a part of his salary, but
get him off the team. They're gonna have to.
Got to get him out of here.
And listen, here's the crazier part. It ain't like you was getting no free agents that was gonna come here for whatever money we got available anyway. So get rid of him, pay his little portion off, and be a middle of the road team. But I think that he's killing more of the morale than anybody on the team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a good look that he gets to do something that dumb and you don't do anything to him. JB Biggerstaff got to do something. If y'all gonna get rid of Kevin Porter Jr. for whatever he did, y'all got to say something to them. And this shit was out loud. This ain't behind closed doors.
Right.
This was with cameras rolling, with people watching. You know what I mean? It's like if you in an abusive relationship and you and your wife or your partner, however you want to look at it, are fighting at home, you might not say nothing about it. But man, if you punch me in the face at the club, that changes everything because everybody saw this now. Everybody saw this. I got to say something. I got to do something. And they didn't do anything. So the level of dysfunction that exists on every layer from Dan Gilbert, I know Dan is not at his healthiest anymore. but whoever is his proxy down through the general managers and the presidents, and at this point, I think all them cats just collect the checks. I just don't see where, even in their draft picks, I don't see where
and you can tell that the team is going through the motions now. Because even as bad as the Cavs were or have been, they weren't getting blown out by 30, 35, not every night.
These dudes down by 35 by halftime.
Yeah.
Anymore, you know.
Yeah. So you can tell they quit on the season. So, yeah, like I said, I was really, really, in a positive state about them early in the season, but now going into the next season, unless they make some drastic changes, attitude-wise mainly, this is not going in good for JB or anybody else on that team. And they got to find a way to get Kevin Love off this basketball team. Now, with that being said, we can talk about, you want to talk about Kevin Love's former teammate at UCLA, Russell Westbrook, and the triple-double tear that he's been on.
Listen, man, first of all, a lot of people have been giving Russ a pretty raw deal, if you ask me, from his time in Houston, some of his time in Oklahoma City, especially maybe the last year or so, him not producing in the playoffs, him not being able to hit shots late in games, whatever. I remember earlier this season when he went to Washington, people were saying stuff online mostly. People were saying stuff like they just traded John Wall for John Wall. Dumb stuff like that. And I'm like, no, Russ is better than John Wall. And I love John Wall, by the way. But Russ is a better ball player than John Wall. The thing is, Russ has never had, since KD left, he's never had another guy on his squad that was a facilitator as well as a absolute baller. When he went to Houston, while Harden is and can be a facilitator, he isn't like late in games. He isn't like in spots in games where Westbrook needs to rock. Westbrook is a ball dominant person because he's not really a shooter. So he has to, he creates most of his stuff off of his movement with the ball. So if he don't get the ball and you kick it over to him with 4 seconds on the clock, he's probably going to end up with a bad shot. And that wasn't happening on every possession, but that's what starts happening. And he gets out of a rhythm and he gets into his own head. And if you go back and look at the beginning of the season, he was doing a lot of that even in DC. Fast forward the last maybe 10 games or so. Man, this dude is playing. His numbers are absolutely ridiculous. Not just because he's getting triple-double after triple-double. Not just because he's getting triple-double after triple-double after triple-double. Some of it is because of some of the numbers that this dude had 21 points and 24 assists. 21 boards and 24 assists. That's only 2 people have done that kind of a triple-double before. Wilt Chamberlain. This dude has done it twice. So. This cat is special, man. I don't know how far they're going to go in the playoffs. I don't know if Russ has turned the corner. I love Bradley Beal. I think Bradley Beal being healthy and feeling like he has a reliable teammate. I think him and John Wall just didn't get along.
They didn't. That's almost that they didn't get along.
So yeah, I think that was where their issues were. It was more personal than it was business. I think J-Dub took a couple shots at Brad when he was hurt or whatever, and I think that soured everything from that point. Huh?
Oh, hold on. No, go ahead. You're right. Go ahead.
Oh no, I thought you was talking to me. But yeah, I think he had something to say a couple times when Bradley. Remember when Bradley first came in the league? He was hurt. He almost had a season-ending injury almost every other year or every year. He was always hurt.
Right.
But you know what I said years ago. I was wondering when they were going to break that duo up. So they did, and they kind of did bring in another guy who was going to be ball dominant. But I think they get along, and I think Bradley is a more mature person than he was during his time with John Ball. So I just wanted to mention Russ because everybody went on this tear about Steph, and Steph was balling. He was shooting every damn thing in the building from every seat in the building, you know,
Right.
from out of bounds, from the locker room, from the Raptors. This dude was just, you know, busting down shots. But you can't, you know, blow up one dude. You got to blow up this cat too. Russ has been balling out of control. What's today? The 10th?
Yeah.
The 11th. I'm sorry. This dude has been balling out of control, dog. Like I'm looking at the stat lines, and we're talking about a couple of these games when he had the 21. Hold on a second. When he had the 21 assists, where was that against the Hawks? Oops. Hold on a second. Bear with me. Today my crack staff is just me, and apparently I'm on crack right now because I'm trying to figure this. Oh, I know what to do. Oh, I thought I did. Yeah, go to that. Lord have mercy. Here we go. All right, my bad, people. My bad. Oh, that was the night that's stupid. Brad had 50 points, and this dude had 33, 15, and 19.
Oh, wow.
And they won by 1 point.
Because I don't know. I can't name anybody else on that team.
They don't really
That's probably why.
they don't really have a great team, but they don't have they got Robin Lopez, who I think is probably the least of the two Lopez's.
Right.
Ish Smith,
Okay.
David Bertans, Alex Lynn, Ree Hachimura. They ain't awful. Like
Yeah,
the team ain't awful, but you know that means let's be frank. That means that those guys are gonna have to get those numbers because who else are they gonna get those from?
Yeah, Hachimura is okay. When I've seen him play, he's inconsistent, but he can score a little bit. The thing that I've always taken away from Russell's game, I don't always like his style. Sometimes a little bit out of control, but the one thing I always said about Russell is that he doesn't cheat the game. You know, he's going to go 110 miles an hour every game. A lot of these guys take nights off. They don't play hard. That's one of my beats with the NBA season this year. I guess, you know, with the funky schedule again, coming off the COVID protocols, you can tell guys are kind of just like going half speed, you know, waiting to get to the playoffs. Russell Westbrook is not one of those guys. Russell Westbrook is going to give you 185% every single game. I think that should be celebrated and appreciated. You know,
I mean, even like you say, even when he plays poorly, he is running hard. He's diving for balls. He does play defense. People don't think he does. I mean, he ain't great at it, but he does get back on D. I mean, he's a ball player, and you could tell his heart is always in the game. And I just wanted to give him a shout out because I don't know that he gets his just due. He's a former MVP. I just think the dude, and he's doing a heck of a lot over there in DC. I mean, they're not. I think they're under
they
500.
would be in the playoffs. They would be in a playing game right now. I think if the season ended. And they weren't early. I mean, I think at one point they might have been below the Cavaliers.
They just kind of went. They got hot. They got hot a little bit before the All-Star break, and definitely afterwards. So they're right now in the 10th spot, which is that last play-in. So they could actually get in. I'll tell you what, it's some teams that probably don't want to see them cats and no play-in.
Matter of fact, they will get that last spot because they're up 3 games on 2.5 on Chicago, and it's only what 4 games left.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, so they'll get that last spot. And get in. How does the play-in system work? But those guys, so the 9 and 10 teams play, and 7, 8 seed play.
yeah. I think it's 7, 8, 9, 10 play, and then like the winner of 7, 8 will play the Suns.
They just play one game.
Huh?
They just play one game.
Yeah. Remember last year? It may be kind of a blur because I know last year was just different altogether.
Right.
But the Blazers played. Who the heck did they play in that play-in game?
I think they played Memphis or somebody like that.
Yeah, they did. It was Memphis. No, it was Brooklyn. It was Brooklyn, and that was Brooklyn, and that was on the east side. That was Brooklyn and somebody else, but it may have been Memphis that they played. That Brooklyn series was great. That playing game was great too. That's why it stuck in my head. But whoever would win between, say, the Warriors and the Grizzlies will play the Jazz. So it's almost like the series or the playoffs in baseball where they got to play in.
Right.
I don't dislike that, but I don't like it in baseball. The play-in game.
I don't like it in baseball at all. Yeah, it doesn't. One game
totally
isn't indicative of who's the better.
I haven't. I think it's necessary when you do have a tie at the end of the season, but I don't think it's necessary every single year. Not in baseball, because I'll be honest with you, most of those damn playing games, there's always some cheaty situations going on. Right. It's always something where I'm like, that dude wasn't out, or he wasn't safe. You know, it's always something. It's always something. And I always say you're gonna lose that playing game if you don't play it like it's a game 7 from the start. If you're playing that playing game like, oh well, I'm trying to save my pitchers for the playoffs. You know, the playoff game you might not get to.
Right.
You're gonna lose, man. But yeah, I just wanted to shout out Russ real quick on his triple-double barrage. He actually just passed Oscar Robinson for the most career triple-doubles. So that's ridiculous all by itself because nobody even thought that was an attainable record.
Yeah, especially from a scorer like Westbrook. He wasn't known as a passing point guard. He was known as a scorer.
And I think you're right. You're right. Right. He came in the league as a scorer.
You would have thought this might like Jason Kidd or even LeBron.
Yeah, I would probably the latter for sure. Would have thought maybe LeBron would have had those types of crazy numbers. And I think to the naysayers when it comes to Westbrook, a lot of people say, "Oh man, he just stat chasing." I don't know how you stat chase 24 assists and 21 rebounds.
Right.
Stat chasing is like, oh, I just got my 10th assist with 30 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter, and we were up 10. Like some stuff you ain't have to do. That's a stat chase. I feel like this guy just goes out, like you said, and plays his tail off night after night, after night after night, because his numbers aren't, while he has a lot of triple doubles, his numbers aren't like consistent. He isn't always like at 15 assists or whatever. This dude had 15 tonight, had 20 tomorrow, might have 9 and 9 after that. He just goes out and plays the game as it comes to him. That's pretty impressive.
Exactly.
Just want to appreciate a little bit of greatness. That's all. All right. So let's move on. The Cleveland Indians. I'm gonna go ahead. Jump feet first. This is why the the Cleveland Indians organization will never sign a guy to a huge, huge contract. Because you get these teams, or you get a team like this one, it's not full of bad players. They're just full of players.
Just guy, Jags, just a guy.
Just full of players. And this freaking Terry Francona guy manages to have them 6 games, 5 games above 500 for no reason. Now, it's early in the year, and I know it doesn't mean crap in this particular moment. But where we are right now, I'll guarantee you, nobody but Terry Francona thought we'd be 19 and 14.
Right. And only a half game out of first place, especially not being able to hit the way that they can't hit consistently.
These dudes couldn't hit the freaking Titanic with an iceberg, man. But when they do hit, they get the flukiest and most mashiest home runs. They get the flukiest hits and the mashiest home runs you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's so bipolar. It's completely and totally opposite. These dudes will score 8 runs tonight with 12 on 12 hits, and then won't get more than 1 run for 3 games.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
It's freaking mind blowing.
And the thing about this, that they've been no hit twice already this season.
Already they've been hit.
Ain't even June, and they've been no hit twice.
And no hit twice, man. We are literally in the second week of May. The season started 3 weeks ago, and you've been no hit twice. Come on, man. I don't understand how the Mets fired their hitting coach the other day, and the whole Indians are batting less than what you call this than Frankie is batting, and
right.
They ain't fired nobody.
Told you we have the same hitting coach for 7 years.
That's what I'm
Still
saying.
here.
And listen,
Stinking
Frankie,
up.
and the thing about the Mets, Frankie always starts off the season slow. He never starts off the season getting hits. He always starts slow. So you fire this dude based on you giving this dude all his money, and he didn't jump out the gate hitting 300. That wasn't gonna happen anyway. That ain't really how Frankie.
And the thing is, too, the Mets are in first place. Barely in first place, but I mean, you know.
But so I fire your guy, you know, keep him around. Maybe he'll figure it out, or maybe the rest of the team will figure it out.
Right.
But the thing is, what happened in 35 games that made you say, "Oh no, this guy got to go now"? I don't know.
Well, you know, they got a new owner. They got a new owner that's trying to shake up some stuff, you know, throwing around a lot of money. Is a panic move, or maybe a move to get the rest of the team on notice, saying, "Hey, this ain't acceptable." You know, one of those kind of jerk reactions type things.
Well, that would be dope. That would be dope if we had an owner like that, and he would decide that he was going to fire this dumbass hitting coach who can't get guys to hit above.
They don't. You notice they don't even mention that dude by name during a broadcast or anything. Like I had to Google him to figure out who it was. Now they talk about, you know, the Indians pitching coach and staff and all of that, but you don't hear anything about this.
Talk about him because that's the best part of the team.
Right. But you don't hear anything about this hitting coach. Now, before the season started, I said, well, the Indians having such a young team, I said either they're going to be, you know, absolutely horrible, or they're going to be a young, you know, team that's going to be inconsistent and give you some thrills here and there. And so far, it seems like it's the latter. I don't know how Francona does it running these no name, like Jake Bauer stinks. He keeps running him out there every night. They bring up some kid, Harold Ramirez, out of nowhere. He comes up on absolute fire. It's just weird, man. They're inconsistent as hell. Even the pitching has been inconsistent, except for the bullpen. The bullpen has been great, but Plesac got lit up for like three straight games. Bieber ain't on. He's not really on his A game, and his ERA is still like under 2 or something like that. But you can tell he's been, kind of shaky here and there.
Ever since that Yankees game, ever since the series against the Yankees, he's been kind of off.
We don't have a 4th starter. That changes like every rotation. What's his name? Savali's been great. Who else is in that rotation? Savali.
I expected Savali to be great though.
Plesac has been up and down. Bieber is Bieber. Tristan McKenzie, when he pitches, he does okay. Matter of fact, I think they should give him a little bit more of an opportunity. But other than that, man, I'm like, they're running out these guys.
Plesac,
Who's that?
Plesac he's been
he had like a two-game stretch where he struggled. On the last game, he didn't give up any runs, I think, against Cincinnati. I think he won like 8 innings, didn't give up a run or something like that. The game, we got no hit. Something like that.
That's a tough game. I mean, as a pitcher.
Yeah, but it's mind-boggling to me. Francona gets on my nerves. I actually called for his head on a couple of occasions.
Bro, you have called for this man's head for the last 2 years, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I have.
Before we started the show, and every day since we started the show, you have called for this dude's head.
And he's got me interested in the Indians. Like, I go out of my way to watch them right now. Normally, this time of the year, I'm a baseball fan, but there's so many games. You're not gonna sit there and watch every game every night. But because these guys are so young and intriguing, I'm invested because I don't know how they're doing it. I have no idea how they're winning these baseball games.
I'm only not invested because of my whole entire approach to baseball in general. It's too early. So, and because it's such a long season, I just don't get totally invested until close as we approach. So like maybe late June-ish.
Okay.
A little bit prior to the All-Star game, and then definitely after the All-Star game. Now we talk because we've seen and it happens generally every year. It's like one team that starts out like complete crap, and they hit a stride. Whether they make the playoffs or not, whether they win the division or not, it's kind of neither here nor there. But it's always this team that just makes, say, like a 20-game swing from pre-All-Star to post-All-Star. They're like totally different players, totally different managers. They're always in every game. You know what I mean? Like or you get teams that start out very, very hot, and then they plummet to earth and never recapture whatever they had. Because it's 162 games. We're talking about during the hottest times of the year in some of the hottest cities on earth. You playing a game in Arlington, you playing a game in freaking LA in July and August, man, it's hot as hell. You play a game in Cleveland in August, it's hot as hell. In July, It's hot as hell. It's humid as hell. Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota's outside now. You know what I mean? Like, these are some hot, humid, Milwaukee. These are some hot, humid places. Atlanta. Baseball is just a long, drawn out, sap you of your energy fest, which is why I don't get totally invested until after the All-Star game, when you start to see the real teams kind of separate themselves from the pack. Or if you get those real close races that you know are going to kind of go all the way down to the wire. So I've watched some games this year, but I haven't gotten totally
right. And
into it.
really, if you want to put it in perspective, if you get pregnant at the beginning of baseball season, your baby is almost born by the time the season's over. You got like a month and a half or 2 months left before your due date. And I'm not exaggerating. That's
No, you're not. Look, that's the crazy part. You're not.
Right.
If you get pregnant in March, listen, you almost ready to have that baby in October.
Yeah, because the season really now don't end until almost November, because all the extra playoffs, really like the first week in November is when the World Series ends. If it goes 7,
yeah,
you know,
it didn't used to be that way. It used to be,
second week of October.
Early part of October. That was.
But think about this. Think about for all of baseball's history, the whole time up until 1994. The only way you could get in the playoffs is you had to win your division. Remember, it was only 4 at the time. You had the American League East and West, the National League East and West, and that's it. You had to win. You know how hard that was?
Yep, that was tough.
And it wasn't until '94, the strike year, is when they added the wild card, and they kind of expanded on it from there.
I mean, I like the wild card.
I like it too. Like, I hate the playing game, but I think the wild card definitely was necessary because it adds more excitement to the game, because baseball is really struggling from a marketing perspective. How they're able to generate as much money as they do, and still pay the players the exorbitant salaries they do, and the majority of the country does not care about baseball at all. That still kind of amazes me. I guess baseball is more regional now. Like, you care about your team, and that's pretty much it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But for them not to, like, they don't, you ask the average person on the street, like, who Mike Trout is, they don't know. But back in the day, you knew who, whether you were a baseball fan or not, you knew who Reggie Jackson was. You knew who Barry Bonds was. You knew who Pete Rose was, because the guys were marketed a little bit different.
Hell, I mean, and we're kind of anomalies, though. I was gonna say, hell, we knew who Paul Molitor was. We knew who Ozzie Smith was. Like, we knew these guys. We knew who Travis Fryman was. None of those guys were super marketed, but we watched baseball. We knew who all of these guys were. We knew who the really good players were almost at all times on every team. We just knew. We were like sports nerds, so we always had that information in us. But it's easier to market the team now, or to market the game now, and they don't do a good job of it. Like,
right now, Fernando Tatis should be on every
commercial. Every single solitaire. And listen, he is so marketable. Right. Every time I see the dude anywhere, I say, man, I'm looking at the dude. He's a good-looking kid. The dude can ball. He's like so charismatic. How don't you jump all over that? How don't you? I'll go further. I'll go a step further. I know you hate it when I bring up Derek Jeter, but I'm going to bring up Derek Jeter for a purpose, for a real purpose, other than getting on your nerve.
You got it.
Major League Baseball did not promote or market Derek Jeter. The New York Yankees did. Baseball, tell me a baseball commercial, a Major League Baseball commercial that you can remember about Derek Jeter.
Right.
Ain't one. However, in New York, I remember being, we stayed in New Jersey. We were going to the Yankees game the next day. I was in New Jersey, and I saw Derek Jeter posters, but it was saw the Yankees logo on the bottom. It didn't say Major League Baseball. It said Yankees. There was a commercial about the Yankees. Guess who was in it? Derek Jeter. He was going into, what's the name of that store? The Wayne Reed store or something like that.
Okay.
That's the Yankees doing that. That wasn't, or that's him doing it for Dwayne Reed, but he's doing it as a member of the Yankees. He's not doing it as a member of Major League Baseball. And Dwayne Reed is a regional drugstore. They're not everywhere. It's like Rite Aid. It's like Drug Mart. Those aren't everywhere. So if LeBron does a Drug Mart commercial when he played with the Cavs, only people seeing that is us. So baseball had one of its bigger stars, or one of its brightest faces, or one of its more recognizable faces, and one of its more recognizable names that they don't do anything with. They don't do nothing with it. And
one thing I didn't know is, like, I didn't know that sports leagues will arrange appearances for certain players to go on the Tonight Show and stuff like that, man. And that's like, if you put him on one of those late night shows and put his highlight package up there and stuff like that, you'll get people say, "Hey, I want to go see this kid," when he comes in town.
And think about that. You in New York, so Derek Jeter done been on Letterman. He done been on the Tonight, not the Tonight Show. All of the damn New York stuff he's been on. Every last one of them he's been on multiple times. So that's the team pushing that, not the Major League Baseball, and that is ridiculous. But do they? Now here's another question. I don't know this for sure. Do they have like profit sharing in Major League Baseball, like in terms of revenue, like team revenues and
they do, as far as I think some of the TV stuff,
just the TV stuff.
But some of the national team, but each team had its own individual TV package. They ain't like the NFL.
Yeah.
Like the NFL is just all one TV package. Y'all get a piece of it. So I think in Major League Baseball, you have the national package and they get a piece of, but each team is allowed to sign their own individual TV deal. That's why the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Cubs are able to have such high payrolls, because their TV contracts, because I guess I would assume, because you're reaching a larger audience, more advertising revenue, stuff like that, they have a bigger package than, let's say, the Indians. Now, what I didn't know is that the Indians, as far as local ratings, are like top 5 in majors.
Yeah.
Something like that. We just don't go to the games.
Listen.
But we'll watch them on television.
We'll turn a baseball game on, and you might not even be watching. You'll just turn it on.
Yeah.
And then you'll go wash the dishes, or finish cooking dinner, and you'll pop in just to check and see what the score is, whatever. Especially at this point in the season where it's not that big of a deal if it's a game. Now, of course, the playoffs is different. You also got to think bars are opening up more now with COVID kind of, I won't say taking a backseat, but with COVID kind of rolling back a little bit. And when I've been to a couple bars here recently, and when I go in, the game is on. The Indians game is on. So you got that plus, so it's playing in every bar. It's playing in most people's homes, because ain't nothing else happening in Cleveland right around this time in terms of stuff to watch. The only thing that probably gets watched more than the Indians at this point in the season is the news, like locally anyway.
Yeah, you can't help it. Like when it's 18 broadcasts on the day, you can't help but watch a little, man.
When do they put shows on?
I'm about to be on a rant, man. They keep adding shows. They keep adding slots. Like now, what's Channel 4? 19?
Yeah.
That's what they did. Like they added a 3 o'clock spot, man. So the news is on, like, so when the stories and all that goes on from 3 until 7.
Now remember
news.
Remember a couple years ago when 19 was also Channel 43?
Yeah.
So you would go from Channel 43, who would have the 6 and 7 o'clock news broadcast, and then you get like a 2-hour gap and you turn to 19, they got the 10 o'clock and the 11 o'clock. I'm like, listen, man, and it's the same people. So it just felt like
It felt like, I'm like, listen, man, I'm so sick of seeing these people on TV, but it's the same thing with Fox 8. Listen, it seemed like Fox 8 News is on 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
I know it's not, but it feels like it is because they start at 5 o'clock in the morning.
From 5
4:30
to about what? About 10?
Like from 5 to about 3 in the afternoon. It's always freaking Fox 8 News. The only reason the Channel 5 News go off because of the stories. If the soap operas didn't come on, that shit wouldn't go off.
Right.
They'd stay on all day too. But theirs gets trumped by ABC News locally, gets trumped by Good Morning America and The View. So they don't have a choice but to go off. They got to go off. If it wasn't for that, they'd be on all damn day long. Because as soon as the stories go off, the news come on.
Man, I was scrolling through my cable the other day, and it's news channels on now that I never knew existed. They got something called Cheddar News.
Yep.
Newsy.
Yep. Newsy. I don't even know what Newsy is. I don't even watch it. But I don't know what it is.
It's all type of OAN, something like that, which is some type of right wing Nazi news broadcast. It was all type of stuff, man. It's a Chinese news. I was like, God, it's all types of stuff on there.
You can't get away from it, bro.
Now, sometimes I'll watch those because you'll get some international news. Because our news, we really don't do anything international unless it's some type of.
I watch BBC News.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the BBC, even though I think that because they're bigger now, they're one of the biggest ones in the world. I know that they're a little bit infiltrated by BS, but
yeah, they are.
Get some, like you say, some international stuff as it happens. I feel like we don't get it all the time as it happens. I think we get it.
And I used to watch Al Jazeera English, and they quickly took that off the air.
Man, I
ain't waste no time.
After about 2 weeks.
Right. Yep.
I remember watching one of those because I watched that because they're gonna say some stuff on there. Look, for the first time ever, you can actually hear someone speaking Muslim in their actual voice. You ain't getting a muted. You don't really know what their lips is doing, but you just go, I'm gonna mute over what he's saying and fill in the voice to get these people what I want them to hear. But anyway, I don't want to get off.
Right.
For the next 5 hours. So yeah, you know what? The Indians are once again being led by Gandalf the White, freaking Terry Francona. This dude is just a wizard, and he just manages to get this team to win for no reason. Guys that we don't think should be in the major leagues come up here and get 2 or 3 hits from Terry Francona. Listen, Jordan Lovelow, I love this dude most days. He'll get 2 home runs today, but then he ain't gonna get a hit for the next week.
Because he don't play. You know what? He only plays when they go get a left-handed pitcher.
Well, I was gonna say when they got a lefty, but when he gets but that's the killer part. When he gets in, he usually does well, but then I don't hear nothing from him. Listen, you have to work on your hitting, bro. You have to stay in the lineup. I just told my friend this. His son, he has twin boys, and they were just running around playing, throwing stuff. And somebody said on Facebook, "Hey, is your kid a lefty?" And he says, "I don't know yet because they're only like 2 or 3." I said, "Hey, listen, make him a lefty. Teach him to pitch lefty. Teach him to hit lefty. Maybe it's going to be a right-handed. That's nothing but a plus because he's going to learn it right-handed as well. That's his time to hit." He was like, "Why so?" I said, "Because their left-handed pitchers are a commodity. God forbid he's any good." He was like, "Wow, I didn't know that." I said, "Yeah, so a switch hit. If you're a switch hitter, you ain't got to come out the lineup. Yep. Especially if you hit effectively. Just all you got to do is hit effectively, which is something that the Indians don't understand in terms of adding that value to your team. You don't have anybody who gets effective on the squad. I know I was about to call him Man Ram. J Ram gets super hot at certain times, and he's the best player that we have. I get that part. But outside of that, we don't have anybody consistent to even place around him to make him
No, it's
effective
not.
next innings. Huh?
It's not. Nobody's even sniffing 300.
No.
Now, I know that they don't emphasize batting average anymore in baseball. They don't emphasize batting average or RBIs anymore. But at least you got to have a guy at least close to a 290, 280. And all the Indians was batting 225. Some dude was batting 188. I'm like, my God.
And see, I'm okay with 188 the first 2 weeks of the season because it just means that you're a little cold. We're a full month or so in the season, and you at 188, dog. Come on, man. Like, again, you're doing a job that I can't do, and I definitely can't do it on a professional level. So I'm not sitting here saying.
But like evidently though,
but what I can say is at 188, I might be able to do that.
Right.
I might be able to think up the place as I get up to bat.
Now they're saying though that hitting is just down all over the league this year for whatever reason. Well, you've had how many no-hitters already this season? Something like 7?
6.
6?
Is it 7?
Yeah.
Is it 7?
It might be 6. I know it's a lot.
It was 6. I thought
it's a lot for this time. Really,
it's way too much. It's way too much for it to be again a month and a half into the season. And
6 is a lot for a whole season. For a whole season, so normally you get like 1 or 2 for a season.
And you got 6 already this season and 2 for one team. Again, that's retarded.
It's crazy.
Sorry for my friends in the mental health community.
It's too late. It's too late. But
it's too late.
You said it like 18 times already.
Have I said? I have.
But
said it,
part of the problem is like the approach to baseball now, where they're teaching the guys the uppercut swing for the fences, 3-run homers. Teams don't play small ball anymore. So now you can strike guys out easily. You do throw some high heat. They're not going to catch it. They're going to swing at it. They're not going to catch up to it. But guys nowadays just swing at trash. I mean, what? I forgot who it was, man. But
they do.
The ball was literally 3 feet off the plate. 3 feet may be an exaggeration, but it was way up. It was nowhere close. It wasn't like the ball moved, like he threw it straight and curved. Nothing. When he let that ball go, it was 3 feet outside the plate. And he swung it. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Where's
he was swinging anyway. That dude was swinging anyway. He ain't care.
It was so bad. He almost threw the bat at the ball. That's how far outside off the plate he was. Like, it's no discipline.
No, I mean, again, there's no real hitters in the game, and we were spoiled. We saw guys and had guys that were, the word I like to use is professional hitters. They were professional ball players too. They prided themselves on doing the 5-tool stuff. Some of them were probably a little more than 5-tool because of who they were and how they played the game. I mean, guys like Charlie Hustle, those guys, Pete was a different kind of guy.
And please put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
Would you please and thank you? Please and thank you.
Stop being dicks.
Please and
want to keep everybody out.
Listen,
like the baseball will go 2 straight years without putting nobody in the Hall of Fame because they don't think nobody
over stupidity. Because let me tell you something. You're not putting him in as a manager. Don't put him in as a manager. But what he did on a baseball field as a player, you can't have your
4,000 hits, which is insane.
Yeah, come on, man. Y'all play too much, and y'all need to stop that writers red ass attitude that y'all have, acting like y'all holier and higher than everybody on the planet because you write a column for the Red Sox. Man, shut up.
Well, what you're going to see though, because you're starting to see it now. Like once this old guard leaves, and you get you're going to see some guys that have been held out for whatever reason start to get in. Because Barry Bonds is getting votes now. Before he won't get none at all.
Yeah.
Clemens and those guys. Go ahead and put those. For one thing, in that era, everybody was juicing. Matter of fact, the pitchers were juicing more than the hitters. When you go back and look at it.
Yeah.
So they talking about it was an uneven playing field. I know it was even. Everybody was on.
Everybody was juicy. You think only them 5 dudes you holding out the damn league? I mean, out the hall were the only ones that were juicing? No.
It was plenty of guys that were juicing that were just they stunk anyway. And you don't hear about that.
What's the dude that used to play Prunk? Used to play for us. Prunk.
Oh, you could tell when he came off the juice. My God.
When he came off, you realized he was actually only 5'8", 185 pounds.
His game went straight to hell.
Yeah, he was awful.
There were a couple of guys that came off the juice, and I guess that's the one thing I hated about that whole thing. Players that the media liked, they didn't go in as hard as the player they didn't like. Because when Jeff Bagwell, you can tell when he came off, because that dude lost about 50 pounds, couldn't hit his way out of the paper bag the rest of his career.
Bagwell was awful. And you can tell he was juicing back when he was. He used to have the biggest veins in his biceps for no reason. Like them mugs was like this big, man.
When Pudge Rodriguez came off, Pudge was getting 40 home runs a year to about 18. Now he's still here for average, but he lost a whole lot of weight.
He could still hit, but then all of a sudden, again, he was another one who you found out was 5'6" and 165 pounds soaking wet.
Right.
Bless you.
But he never got implicated. For some reason, his name never came up. And
he must have quit. I think he quit before it got too bad. And I'll be honest with you, even with the problem that Big Mac had is Mark should have just said, hey, listen, because they knew he was using an Androsten. Listen, it wasn't illegal when I was using it. I was just, first of all, you play 160-something games. That's a lot of freaking games to play. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it's a lot of wear and tear on my body from the travel. It's a lot of wear and tear on my body from these stupid 165 games. And God forbid, we make it into the playoffs. So it's a culture. It becomes a culture. And I'm saying some of that because of piggybacking on having watched some of the wrestling autobiographies recently. They talk about some of that stuff. When you're on the road 250 days out of 365 days, you're doing something. Because especially in something that physical, you got to do something to repair yourself, to rejuvenate yourself, to get yourself back up for the next night or for that next, think about Starcade back in the day, man, when they would go to 18 cities.
Right.
Man, listen, if we played a football game at a grown man's age, when we were young, we never got sore all like that. Not real bad.
Right.
Old men out there every night wrestling, man, them dudes got stuff broke, stuff torn, hurt up, back sprains, tingling down the arm. You got to do something to bring that shit back. Big Mac was doing, and he said that. I used that to rejuvenate, but it's not illegal. And it wasn't at the time. It just wasn't on the list. So, all right, it ain't on the list. That means it ain't illegal. But they wouldn't let it go. And then eventually it became illegal. But, at that point, it was too late.
Right.
Like, it was too late at that point. So I think that Mac's numbers were, even if you go aside from the numbers he had when he hit, for the home run record and all that stuff, the dude's career to that point was still Hall of Fame. Same thing with Bonds. He was still Hall of Fame. Same thing with Clemens. He was still Hall of Fame. But you can't be mad or expect that no one did nothing aside from these group of guys. That's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. Oh, and by the way, watch Booker T's
autobiography on A&E.
Oh, he got one coming up because I miss Roddy Piper. I got to go watch that on demand.
It just
I
came
did
out.
watch. Huh?
I said Booker T's came out yesterday.
Okay, I'm gonna go check that out. So I did go back and watch Stone Cold. That was pretty good. That was really good.
Stone Cold was good. I watched Booker T last night, and then I watched Macho Man today.
Oh, Macho Man? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I watched Macho Man's today. That one was pretty good too. And Macho Man is in my top 5 for those who even care. He's in my top 5 all-time greatest wrestler. And he's in my top 2 all-time greatest interview.
Oh, yeah.
He's in my top 2. Only person
Him
better
and
than
Flair.
Macho Man is Ric Flair. Ric Flair's
Yeah.
the greatest freaking soundbite interview on the planet. There's nobody better than Ric Flair at it. I don't even know why I disliked Ric Flair when I was a kid. Like, I watch that junk now, and I'm literally dying listening to Ric Flair. and
I
he
don't
brings
know
back
why I
some
didn't like.
great.
You know what? I know why. Because we were just trained that way at the
Because he
time.
was the heel. Because he was the heel, so you don't root for the heel, supposedly, right?
But I love the Horseman, though.
I love the Horsemen, and even crazier, one of my favorite all-time tag teams is Arn and Tully. I love Arn and Tully, and Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. I love the both of them individually, and I love them together. That was one of my favorite tag teams on the planet. I like them more than I like the Road Warriors. Like they were 2 of my favorite.
I already told you what my favorite was, and you scoffed at me when I told you what my favorite tag team was.
Man, if you listen, first of all, the Rock and Roll Express could easily be the 2 worst dudes that ever wrestled.
No, it wasn't the Rock and Roll, the Midnight Express. Beautiful Bobby and Loverboy Dennis.
And that ain't better.
Yes, it is.
That's not.
It is. They were great. They're one of the rawest tag teams ever.
You and my brother were the Midnight Express jerks that I was ever around. I don't even, like, there's nothing about those dudes that was good other than their damn manager, because he was hilarious.
Because they had about like 35 different finisher moves. They had the English rocket launcher. You had all different types of moves they used to do.
Man, I couldn't stand them cats.
Now, I didn't like it as much when they brought in Sweet Stan Lane.
I hated Stan Lane. Now, I'll tell you that. I agree with that. I didn't like Stan Lane. Beautiful Bobby was fat. And he was fat. And I was like thinking to myself, like, this dude can't wrestle. And he
could wrestle his ass off.
He couldn't wrestle.
Looks like we have some technical difficulties. Our partner RP has something going on his end, but that's okay. We got on the topic of wrestling from baseball, and we're just trying to, going over like our top 5 greatest wrestlers of all time, in our opinion, as well as who we thought gave the greatest interviews of all time. I think he said he loved Ric Flair. Ric Flair was one of the best interviewers. I think RP is coming back now. There he is. All right, he's back. I was trying to do some filler. While you were away, and I was doing an absolute horrible job of it. But I'm glad that you're back.
I made it back in. But as I was saying, the damn Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express might have been, aside from the Rougeau brothers and the Rockers.
Rougeau brothers.
They were
actually, man, you know what? When you go, the Rougeau brothers are actually kind of raw.
They were, man, we're not about to do this.
I didn't like them, but it's like, it was always those guys you didn't appreciate their skill until you got like a little bit older.
Now I will say this, they were whack, but they could at least wrestle. The Rougeau
brothers could wrestle. Right.
I didn't buy into the not the Rock and Roll Express. I didn't think the Rock and Roll Express could wrestle either. They were more flair than they were anything.
They were just small, and they used to get their ass beat too. When the Road Warriors to beat their ass.
Yeah, they was. I mean, but they was just flair. It was all just flair. They had the hair. They had the cool music,
Right.
and everybody always loved everything they did. They tried to come in with a big bang or whatever. The rock and roll. Now, the one thing I did like about the Midnight Express, as much as I disliked them, their music was dope coming in the ring.
Oh, hell yeah. That's some of the rawest intro music ever.
That was actually pretty dope. I would never tell Donnie that though. I would never.
Man, I meant to post some more stuff. Man, you know, I posted Hulk Hogan's heel turn and some other stuff.
Listen,
last week I meant to post some more. I posted Jimmy Snuka and Piper's Pit. He got hit with the coconut.
Oh, when he got hit with the coconut.
I didn't know how racist that was, but that was so racist.
Listen, all of it
was like they were bananas in his face.
But all of it was racist. Like, think about how all of it was like a stereotype or a cultural or racial stereotype. So you have like the Russians. So all of them were, you know, with the stupid thick accent. You know, they were all like bald head with the goatee or something. You know what I mean? Like they just made them that way. The Iron Sheik, even though he was actually you know, an Arab descent, he ain't have to wear them damn boots with the, you know, the curl. I mean, come on, bro. Y'all doing too much, man. You know what I mean? You got Coco Beware just a jumping and a dancing, just
right.
Like, come on, bro, chill out. You know what I mean? Like there was no cool, and that's why another reason why you got to go watch Booker T's junk, because they mentioned some people I ain't even know that were black that wrestled. All of it was like some level of what? Like the dude that they mentioned, his name was Mr. Ebony. He was a black wrestler.
I remember him.
I don't remember him. I said, man, who the hell is that? And why is his name Mr. Ebony, dog? Oh, because he's black.
Him.
Great.
Yeah.
Freaking great. But, you know, for them, all of them were, I mean, and then all of the Islanders, they was all wild savages. You know, Snuka
Wild Samoans.
Snuka never wore shoes. The Tongan kid never wore shoes. They come in with the grass skirt on. All of it was culturally inappropriate and borderline and completely, totally over the top racist. But everybody loved it. We all loved it. We all bought into it. Like here I go again, like retards. We bought into
it. Look at
Kamala. Like, bro, do you have a half moon on your navel?
Kamala,
you got a
Abdullah the Butcher
on your navel and a star on your nipple. Kamala. you Papa Shango. I mean, come on, man. All of it was, and then Yokozuna, the Kabuki.
Yeah.
I mean, all these guys were, at some level, culturally insensitive and flat out racist. It just was what it was, and we all ate it up.
Yeah, and you think about how ridiculous some of that stuff was, man. I'm gonna post some more. I might post some more tonight while that's on my mind, because I wanted to post the same. I couldn't find a good, clear copy of it, but when Earthquake killed Damien, that's the one I wanted to post.
When Earthquake did what?
Killed Damien. You remember that?
Oh man, listen.
Man, when Earthquake tied up
man, and then he did the splash
the
on him. And that fool did the splash on him.
Yeah.
Oh, just don't tag Snake. Don't hashtag Snake. I don't want no problems with Peter.
Right.
You could just say Damien in it.
Jake the Snake said, man, he told the story. He said they had to clear all of that with ASPCA, whatever the animal people are, not Peter, but the other animal people, that it wasn't real. That they had switched out the bag.
Oh, I'm
and
sure
they had to, and they said they had to inspect it before and after to make sure that they really weren't, hurting the animal. And Jake the Snake said he said that was his idea to do that storyline too.
That is hilarious. That was hilarious. The freaking earthquake. I forgot about the earthquake.
He died too, man. All those guys are dead, man. Like, it's crazy how short their lifespans are.
Yeah, because Macho Man was only 58 when he passed. So a couple years back. What was that? Almost 10 years ago he died?
Was it? Okay.
I think it was like 2011 or something like that.
Okay.
I didn't feel like it was that long ago till I was watching the show last night. But yeah, and one of the guys that still works for WWE in the background, like he's a talent guy, is his last name is Pritchard. Man, that's freaking Brother Love. Every time I see him, I'm like,
oh man.
I'm like, man, come on, bro. I hated him too. I ain't like Brother Love at all. He was so stupid.
I hated him. I hated Paul Bearer.
I didn't like Paul Bearer. I didn't like Paul Bearer. You know who I used to like though? Mr. Fuji. That was culturally insensitive.
He ain't never say nothing. But he hit your ass with that damn cane.
Man, you was about to get rapped with that cane. He was rapping the hell out of you with that cane. And his best wrestler to me was the Samoan. What's his name? King. What was dude's name? He used to be in the tag team with the Tongan kid, but then he went off on his own. Haku, that was his name.
Yeah. I remember Haku.
Haku, he was solid. He was a solid wrestler. I liked him.
Yeah, I remember that. But Mr. Fuji used to wrestle. I've actually seen Mr. Fuji wrestle in person.
I never saw that.
Like my father would take me down to the wrestling matches when it was at Public Hall, and I saw Mr. Fuji wrestle Junkyard Dog.
Man, not the JYD, not the
and that match didn't last long either.
I bet it
didn't last long. That was the first time I saw Hogan. I saw Hogan wrestle. He wrestled Orndorff once, and the second time I saw Hogan, I want to say it was Cowboy Bob Orton.
Cowboy Bob Orton.
But you remember back in the day that a guy could lose his belt not on TV. Yeah. It could be a random match in Greensboro, North Carolina, and you wouldn't know that they lost the belt until Saturday morning.
You turn on Saturday and you like, we got news of a new champion. And if somebody like Dusty had the belt, I'd be like, what? Man, I know Dusty Rhodes ain't lose the belt. I hope Ric Flair ain't got it back, because of course they wouldn't tell you right away.
Or somebody would just show up in an interview with the belt. You're like, wait a minute, how he get the U.S. title? When that happened?
Like, what happened? Why Nikita? Oh, so Nikita, so Magnum couldn't beat Nikita again?
Yeah.
Damn.
And you could be on edge because when Magnum TA and Nikita had their 7-match series, and all of them wasn't on TV, so you ain't know what was going on.
Yeah, you hope on Saturday you're like, come on, man, please have 2 of those matches, Magnum. Right. And Magnum be getting it handed to him because Nikita be rushing, signaling his ass all over the place. First of all, Magnum had a mullet. We should have knew then he wasn't gonna win.
Shit, they almost all of them had mullets back then. Shit.
Yeah.
But look, man, we ain't got all off on a tangent. You know what? That's what we need to do, man. Like maybe
we need to do a wrestling show.
Maybe not the next show, but some show down the line. We need to get Donnie on. Who else likes wrestling?
Elton.
Get Donnie.
Elton like wrestling. Huh? Elton like wrestling.
Does he?
Yeah.
All right, we can get him on. So a couple other people. Maybe just have a panel.
So maybe I'll get see if my cousin Nick want to get on.
Yep. I was just about to say that. I know Nick like wrestling too. So
let's see if cats want to get on and talk
talk a little wrestling.
Right.
Talk a little wrestling.
And we can
right,
go down
so
like each give like our list of our top 10, top 5, top 10 favorite wrestlers or favorite angles, you know, of all time. There's so many different angles out there too.
Well, maybe we'll do top 5. Because I also
would
like
top
to
10. We be here all damn day.
Yeah, do top 5 and like your top 5 favorite and then your top 5 favorite tag team, and then
right.
That and even that could be all night. Because you already know somebody gonna say something like the dumbass Midnight Express that's gonna cause people to say, a bunch of stuff. But anyhow, hey, folks.
Or the Killer Bees.
Freaking man, stop bringing up people.
I hated the Killer Bees. Jumping Jim Brunzell.
Jumping Jim Brunzell. And what was the other dude's name?
I can't remember.
But I do remember Jumping Jim Brunzell.
I can't remember
that. But all right, folks, let's wrap this thing up. Sean, again, it's always my pleasure. I always have a good time. It's always great to be able to have these moments. I know you always get mad when I do this, but appreciate you, man. I appreciate your time because I know you're busy. I know you don't always have the time that you like to have to pull this off. So when you make time, man, it's awesome. And if anybody, you guys out there who are listening, want to find out where we are, what we're up to, come check us out on Instagram. Come follow us. Instagram, 2 Guys on the Mic, 216. Facebook, 2 Guys on the Mic, 216. On Spotify, we're audio streaming on Spotify, on Anchor. Help me out, Sean, because I can't think right now.
Yeah,
Audio
Anchor,
streaming.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts,
Google Podcasts as well. And we're also on YouTube. Again, 2 Guys on the Mic, 216. Come check us out. Come subscribe. Come comment. You want to email us, 2 Guys on the Mic, 216 at Gmail. Email us, give us some comments, give us some feedback. Let us know if we need more content. Let us know if you like the content that we're putting out. We don't care. We will respond back. We will dialogue with you guys. We appreciate you for spending any time or any energy with us. And we will see you guys next time out. Sean, you got anything?
No, that's it, man. So you have a good rest of your week, and we will catch you guys next time.
All right, y'all. Peace. Love you, man.